Officially saying welcome and thank you for joining us. We are thrilled to be talking about the wines of Central Europe today, and of course the AmaMagna. And of course we are super excited because we have, of course, our wine expert with us today. And a little later, Paul is going to join us again and take us through the wine tastings. And I'm very, very excited, having had the great pleasure of traveling with Paul before. There's always an amazing story. It's so much fun. And I know that you will enjoy it as much as we did. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Keke Afrey. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Expedia Cruises, and I will be the moderator for this program. So to give you a quick overview of where we're going, the itinerary itself is actually called Magna on the Danube. And it is a very special itinerary on the Danube designed to accommodate the AmaMagna, because she's a special ship. So just to give you a quick run through, and then I'm going to take you, quite frankly, because images are so much better than words, I'm going to take you on a visual journey. But let's start here with this map, understanding that we're going to start in Budapest in Hungary. We're going to go through Slovakia. We're going to go down through the Austria, the Czech Republic, and in Germany. So this particular itinerary starts in Budapest and ends in Vilshofen, which is close to Munich. That would be the airport that you're flying out of on the way home, unless you decide to take a post option to Prague, in which case you'd fly home from there. Starting, as I mentioned, in Budapest, this is one of my favorite cities in the entire world. There's so many things to see. So of course, there's two sides. There's Buda and Pest. From the Fisherman's Bastille over on the one side, you'll be able to see the lovely city on the other side. One of the best parts about doing this itinerary in this direction is that the very first evening, they do something very special called the Illuminations Cruise. And the Illuminations Cruise is where the ship will actually sail down and back through the city of Budapest along the river, and everything is illuminated. So you're going to see, for example, the Parliament building that you see in that picture there, but you'll also see the Chain Bridge and the Liberty Bridge, everything that's all lit up with lights, and it's absolutely spectacular and a really fun way to launch your cruise. For those who want to come in a little bit early, you're also going to find that in Budapest, there are wine regions very close by, both Eggers and Tokaj. And I'm sure that as we get closer to the sailing, if you want to visit those, I'm sure we can help you to do that. Our next port of call is going to be Bratislava. Bratislava is in Slovakia, and you're going to notice even behind me, the picture that we have, that's the ship sailing into Bratislava. This town in itself is well known for the coronation city of the kings, and it was host to 11 crowning ceremonies of Hungarian kings. It's really fun. You can do a local little walking tour, or you can hike up to the castle, which is just a spectacular hike. They also have more easygoing tours that can get you up there as well. A beautiful city. Then, of course, there's Vienna. There's Vienna. I think one of the bucket lists for so many of us all over the world is to visit Vienna. Whether it's the Opera House or the Imperial Palace of the Habsburgs or St. Stephen's Cathedral. The nice thing too is that you can do all of that in the morning and still in the afternoon go to the UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is of course the Schönbrunn Palace. The great thing about the tours that you have with AMA Waterways is there's that flexibility of what you'd like to do and when you'd like to do them. AMA includes shore excursions in every single port of call, and not just one in the morning and maybe an optional one. They include the tours. So there is, on this itinerary, one of the very few that you can actually purchase is here in Vienna, and that's to go to a concert in the evening. All of the others are included. And what does that mean? That means that if you want to do a lengthy tour in the morning, come back and take a break and do a lengthy tour in the afternoon, it's all good. It's included. I'll talk a little bit more about the different levels of activity because we're going to one of my favorite places. When you come into Krems, that is the port of call for Dürnstein. And this picture that you see there, I was actually standing up at the top of this fortress looking down. That's the Dürnstein Castle, also known as Richard the Lionheart's Castle. And you have the opportunity of doing that in the morning. And there's a great little walking tour through the town of Dürnstein, and you can do apricot liqueur tasting. And then in the afternoon, over in Spitz, that's where you can go to the Abbey in Melk. And the first time I saw that Abbey, I could not imagine ever seeing that much gold. I think it rivaled everything that I had seen in the Hermitage. That's how much there was. Absolutely spectacular. And again, all included. So you can see all of those things on the same day. Oh, I failed to mention, and I'm going to go back real quickly because probably one of the most important parts about this port of call is that you're in the Washoe Valley. And the Washoe Valley, and I can hear, you must be there, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Well, do you want to say something about the Washoe Valley while we're here?
No, we'll get there.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I have to tell you that it's very exciting for me every time I've been there through the different seasons is to stand down at the river level where you're there with the vineyards and you look up at all the hillsides and you look up at the castle and you look up at the little towns. But it really is beautiful, quite spectacular. And Paul's going to tell us about the great wines that come from the region. Our next port of call, of course, is Linz in Austria. And Linz is the gateway to both Salzburg and, if you choose, even you can go to Český Krumlov in the Czech Republic. So again, lots of options. So, you know, you can go from Linz, you can go and pass by Mozart's house, or you can go to Salzburg and experience the Sound of Music experience. Being a big Julie Andrews fan, that's what I had to do. And I've been there several times now. And I think one of the great parts about being able to go back to similar places again is that you can choose different things each time. In this case, of course, I loved seeing Salzburg, but Český Krumlov is a magnificent little mountain town. And if you have the opportunity to do that as well, that certainly could be a great choice. Our next port of call is Passau, Germany. And I think many of you have seen this picture before. You might not have always realized what it is. In Passau, this is also called the City of Three Rivers, and you can actually see the confluence. So when you look carefully at that picture, notice how there's like a dark line right there at the tip of one of the little peninsulas there. There's a dark line in the water. That's actually the different colors of the water. And at this particular place, they come together. I always thought, well, you know, in person, it would be different. It's great in a picture. Maybe there's a shadow or something, but no, it's very, very evident. And as the ship comes in and then goes up into that little peninsula to dock in the city of Passau, you can actually look down into the water and see the churning of the different colors of the water. It's really quite fascinating. This vantage point is where we were standing in the Oberhaus Fortress. It's actually the Vesta Oberhaus Fortress, and it's one of the options that you can do. And again, with AMA, because it's included, they don't just say, okay, everybody go on a walking tour. They give you all these choices, but then within those choices are yet choices again, but they're great ones because they have 3 different levels of walking tours. They have the average walkers, the active walkers, and the gentle walkers. And the idea is that depending on what you're feeling like that day, you join that walking group level so that you can either feel like you really want to get going without having to wait for someone, or that you can be leisurely without being pushed by someone. It's a great option that they give you all these different varieties. And of course, if you have any walking disabilities, the gentle walkers, they even sometimes have little private vans with a guide that will take you on some of the tours. And again, all included. So it's very exciting and very well done. Our cruise is going to culminate in Wilshofen, Germany. We're really close to Munich, but what's really fun when the ship comes into Wilshofen is they have an Oktoberfest. And of course, September is a great time to be having Oktoberfest. They don't traditionally have Oktoberfest all through October. So you'll have a beer garden right there by the ship. They have the little town there, has parades. It's really, really quaint, and it's a wonderful time to experience the port of call before heading forward. I want to take a few minutes to talk about why it's special to be aboard the AmaMagna. AmaMagna is unlike any other river cruise ship. She's completely revolutionary. You see this lovely picture of her here. What makes her special is that she's double wide. So I added this picture here because I really feel that it helps represent the size of AmaMagna. If you can imagine that on the left, you will see that that's a Viking longship. And the Viking longships carry about 200 passengers, 196 to 200 passengers, depending on which one. Now imagine that the AmaMagna, the one that's twice as wide and longer, carries the same number of guests. To me, this speaks volume. This represents all the extra space that you will have as a guest on board this ship. And I love, of course, that she has just that ample room, but it extends through all areas of the ship. Let me give you some examples. One of the very innovative and first of its kind items that was added to this ship is this retractable platform. So as you can see, it comes down from the back of the ship, and it really serves as two purposes. Number one, you can see that there's a launch at the back. There's a small boat that can be used for tours. And then the other part is it's an al fresco restaurant, and it actually can accommodate 55 guests when the weather is nice. So you have this lovely outdoor seating right on the river, exclusive. It's very, very delightful. And of course, like I said, the first of its kind. The other part that makes having a larger ship really great is the size of the staterooms. So this one here is the smallest of the staterooms, and you're going to see that the balcony suite is actually, oh, sorry about that. I see there's some jumbled numbers there, but she's actually 252 square feet. Now, when you compare most other cruise ships, river cruise ships, the standard staterooms average anywhere from 150 to 175 square feet. So right away, we're talking about ample space. Now look at this. This particular ship offers, again, these are balcony suites. They're 355 square feet. So already you're seeing the big difference. You're seeing that there's a couch and a separate sitting area. Makes a huge, huge difference compared to some of the other ships. As a matter of fact, this is not even the suites yet. And already this size is larger than the suites on most other river vessels. So this is where it gets really interesting. I couldn't fit it all into one picture, so there's really a picture within a picture there. And this is a grand suite. She's 474 square feet. And you're going to notice that, again, she provides not only the bedroom space, but again, separate living space that makes it just lovely to thoroughly enjoy. And the largest on the ship are these, and there are several of them, which makes it also very unique, are the owner suites. And you're going to notice that the owner suite, again, couldn't fit into just one image. So I'll actually have two on this one. You'll notice that there's the huge living room area, sitting room area, bar, separate bedroom area. Of course, all of them have the flat screen televisions that rise up and down from the console. But you'll also notice that this bathroom would rival probably any hotel anywhere. And in all of the bathrooms on the ship, you're going to find they all have the double sinks. They all have the big walk-in shower separate. It's truly lovely. They did a magnificent job. Get it, Magna, magnificent. That they did a great job when they were designing the ship. I simply love her. Of course, being wine enthusiasts, we all love great food. I don't know about you. I can certainly speak to that. This is one of the specialty restaurants. You're going to notice that this is the chef's table. The chef table is a dining room that we often use for one of our wine pairing dinners. And it only seats 60 guests. And it's just lovely, intimate space. And you're going to notice the open kitchen. And so that's an open kitchen concept where you can actually see them preparing the food. It's simply brilliant. This is the elegant main dining room. She's quite lovely, and love the way they have lots of different types of tables, whether you want the booth style or the actual seated chairs. Again, quite lovely, quite elegant. Something brand new, and again, you're going to notice that there's options where on most river cruise ships you have the dining room and maybe you have one other something. Here we're going to have several options, right? Because we already talked about the alfrescos, we already talked about the chef's table, the main dining room, and now we have Jimmy's restaurant and wine bar. And this is designed in honor of one of the founders who passed, Jimmy Murphy. And it's, again, a wonderful space and will be home to one of our wine dinners. Just to give you a further example of the spaciousness aboard the ship, You'll see that this is the lounge area. So again, very comfortable, lots of space. And I didn't even include all the pictures of, there's 2 libraries, one on either side of the ship, that have fireplace and cozy chairs. And there's a Zen room. There is an exercise facility. They even have, if you're into it, they even have the spin bikes out on the aft deck. So there's so much to see. I didn't want to put all of that into this presentation because I know that you all want wine, so I won't keep you too long. This, of course, is the top deck. And unlike many ships, you're going to notice that she has not only the dual pools here, but there's a hot tub as well. Again, just lots of space, lots of room for everyone to be up there and enjoy. The sailing that we're talking about, of course, is in September. So with it being in September, we know that the weather is going to be lovely. It's the peak season, the time to be there. We're going to see the color changes in the leaves of the trees as we go down the Danube River, and you're going to be able to spend your time outside. One of the things that is probably not often mentioned, and I had to discover for myself the first time I sailed with Ama, is that they use the AudioVox earphones. And when they do that, you can put them in your ear, and there's a little thing you wear around your neck. But I learned that going up on deck, you can tap it to the wall as you go up to the top deck, and it will actually buzz when their ship is sailing by something of importance, and it'll let you know to put your earphones or your earbuds in, and it will tell you about what is going by as you sail along the river. Really something completely unique. I mentioned earlier that Ama Waterways is very inclusive. I just wanted to point out the details of what that means. So, of course, we're talking about the 7-night luxury accommodations. All the rooms are outside. There are some that have picture windows, but most of them, as you saw earlier, have balconies. And, of course, the expertly guided shore excursions in every port of call. And remember that not just one, but all your excursions in general. Like I said, in this case, there's one excursion that I can think of that you could purchase optional. Unlike other cruise lines that will include one in the morning and then charge you for an optional one in the afternoon, this one, they're included. The complimentary Wi-Fi access is always helpful because I want to make sure that I'm sending pictures home. And they even have a really cool app on Ama Waterways, and it will allow you to send postcard pictures from the pictures that you're taking as you go along the way. It's really quite fun. The cuisine is excellent. One of the reasons that we initially started working with Ama Waterways for our wine cruises is because their culinary expertise was able to meet the standards of our wine enthusiasts. So of course they have La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs dining experience, but also all of your meals are included. So you're going to have fantastic breakfast, lunch, and dinners. There are snacks, more than you probably ever want, and it's lovely and well appointed. You have the unlimited wines and beer, as well as soft drinks with every lunch and dinner. And then, of course, throughout the day, you're going to find there are wonderful juices and mineral waters and coffee and specialty coffees and tea, all included, that are all available. You can even have champagne with breakfast, and it's included. And keep in mind that I haven't even mentioned our wine program yet. So we're already covered with having these great things. They also have a cocktail reception every evening. It's called the Sip and Sail. And the Sip and Sail is for 1 hour cocktails, complimentary, every night at sailing. So you can have your complimentary cocktails, you're having your wine, your beer, your champagne with breakfast. We will not be hurting for neither food nor drink on this voyage. So I mentioned quickly our wine experience. On this particular cruise, hosted, of course, by Paul, you're going to have a welcome aboard reception. You're going to have 3 wine seminars and 3 exclusive paired wine dinners. So anytime we start talking wine, I know that it's time for me to turn over the reins. So with that, I would just love to introduce and welcome our very special guest, the wine authority who makes it all fun, Mr. Paul Wagner. Paul, I leave it up to you.
Okay, thanks. I'm amused at the photographs we've got there. It was clearly taken pre-COVID-19 when hair salons were open. I'm looking a little rattier these days than I did back then. I love this cruise, and I love it for a number of reasons. First of all, I just want to talk about that itinerary really quickly. I hope, by the way, that you are working your way through that fabulous Gruner Veltliner that we opened. Gruner is more or less the official national grape of Austria. We have a tendency to think of Austria as being a very mountainous country, as KK mentioned, the Sound of Music and all of that. That's Salzburg. But down by the Danube, what they call the Nederlands, which means the lower lands in German, you have a lot of vineyards. And KK mentioned that the vineyards really steep going up these hillsides in the Wachau Valley, which is the most famous region in Austria, probably. These are so steep that in many cases, there are no stairs between one terrace and the next. They're literally using ladders because they're that steep going up the sides of the hills. So quite amazing to see. But we start in Budapest, and KK mentioned fabulous city. I think of it as a wedding cake kind of city. But remember that Hungary is the home of goulash. So we get to have goulash, and you're going to be surprised because goulash in Hungary doesn't taste like what we think of as goulash in this country. It's actually more a broth soup with meat and vegetables in it, but it's quite good. And then the one thing that I absolutely love about Budapest is they have a huge public market. And on the top floor, you have sausage and vegetables and things that you might expect. But if you go down to the bottom floor, and it's huge, the bottom floor is dedicated to mushrooms and pickled vegetables. And I'm sorry, we couldn't resist. We bought about a liter of pickled vegetables for, I think it was €1. And every night, as we had cocktails, we would eat a few little pickled onions, carrots, cauliflower, etc. It's just wonderful fun, and they're absolutely delicious. It's just a treat to go and experience something like that in Hungary. And of course, the most famous wine in Hungary is Tokaj Asszú. Now, I didn't use that for this tasting because, frankly, Tokaj Asszú is a very difficult wine to find. It's extremely rare. But you can certainly get it, and we will have some on board. And remember, this is the legendary wine that is said to be the wine of kings and the king of wines. And everyone from Queen Victoria to the Pope has loved this wine. And in fact, when Marie Antoinette went to marry Louis XVI in Paris, that actually didn't turn out all that well all the way around. But anyway, when Marie Antoinette traveled to Paris to meet and marry Louis XVI, she brought along bucket loads of Tokaj Asszú because she didn't want to drink any of that lousy French wine. She wanted to drink good wine from Hungary. So really looking forward to that. Then we go on to Vienna. And Vienna is the only European capital that has an official wine appellation inside the city limits. I don't quite know if the wine will be released when we get there. It's an immediately after the harvest wine. It's called Wiener Gemischter Schatz. And that just means a Viennese, Wiener means Viennese, a Viennese field blend. Gemischte means mixed. So it's a set of grapes that they grow locally there. It's fermented, turned into wine, and drunk almost immediately in little cafes around Vienna with sausage. It's wonderful fun. I hope it'll be ready by the time we get there, but if not, we'll certainly have some other fabulous wines like this Gruner. I hope you're enjoying it. It's bright, it's lively, and interestingly enough, this wouldn't be a bad wine to drink with that most traditional of Viennese foods. Yes, Wiener Schnitzel comes from Vienna. And in fact, in Vienna, you can also go to the Soccer Hotel, which is where Soccer Tort comes from. It's just, what's so fun about this is so many of the places we visit ultimately express themselves in the food and the wine. And then, as KK mentioned, we go on to the Wachau Valley with those fabulous terraces, also very famous for growing the most perfect apricots in Europe. So you can visit and perhaps try some either apricots or apricot liqueur, depending on the season. And then we end up in Germany. And in Germany, although Wildhoven is not really a wine region, if you head west far enough, you eventually hit the Rhine. And I just love Riesling so much that I couldn't possibly allow us to do a wine tasting through Central Europe, ending in Germany and not tasting a German Riesling. So you've tasted the Gruner Veltliner from the Kammtal region. And then the next wine is the Donhof Estate Riesling from the Nahe. That's one of the tributaries of the Rhine. This is fabulous. It's elegant. It's delicate. It's delicious. It's the kind of wine that you open up the bottle and you taste a glass and you think, gosh, that's really tasty. And the next thing you know, you look and the damn bottle's empty. And what happened here? Absolutely, to my mind, Riesling is the greatest white wine in the world. Delicious with all sorts of foods. And one of the things that's really fun about being on the AMA ships is they have sommeliers. The guys and women are very talented. They're very competent. The most fun I have in some ways on one of these AMA ships is I go on board the first day, and as we check in, I always have a meeting with the chef and the sommelier, and we just sit around and talk about wine and food and what we're going to do that week. And I always walk away and I come back into our cabin and I tell my wife, oh, this is really going to be good. They're always enthusiastic. They really know their stuff, and they really love to show off not only their skill, but they love to show off what they can find locally to capture a sense of what we're traveling through. So look at that. You get Tokayasu, the wine of kings and the king of wines. You get Wiener Gemischtes Satz, which is the only wine produced inside the city limits of a European capital. You get to drink wine from the Wachau Valley, which is the greatest wine region of Austria. You get to drink Rhine Riesling, the greatest wine from Germany. And in addition, you get to eat Hungarian goulash, Wiener Schnitzel, Sachertorte, Linzer Torte. It's a total adventure and total fun. And I can hardly wait to get you on board the ship and start talking about this stuff with you. And with that, I'll turn it back to KK and let her tell you what else we need to think about.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm always excited. As I like to share, I've had the great pleasure of sailing with you. And you do like to have fun and you share it with everyone around you. So I so appreciate that. And I know that any of the guests who are with us today who have sailed with you before can certainly share those sentiments. As I promised earlier, I would mention that there is an exclusive offer. And believe it or not, we got this morning. So I had to modify this presentation. And that makes it really exciting because it is exclusive for our virtual event guests. So for those who are attending, there is a $500 per stateroom, $250 per person savings. And you just have to book by December 15th. So it's about the 3rd, so you've got about 12 days, but you'll want to make this reservation because, of course, September is a brilliant time to be in this region. We are hoping for that wine in Vienna, but at the same time, it's going to be fun because we're going to have the aspect of seeing the different colors changing and what's going to be available to us in Europe. The weather is very, very consistent in September, and one of my favorites, one of my personal favorite times to be on the Danube. So I want to encourage you because, again, while the ship size is important, right, it's also important for you to know that inventory is limited. And so when we talk about inventory being limited, that means that everyone who didn't get to sail in 20 is sailing in the fall of 21 and into 22. So we know that this is important to you to be able to get away. So we went ahead and extended the special offer to you. For those of you who know us well, you know that we are not a call center. We are a locally owned travel agency that excels in wine and luxury travel. And we are very proud to be the #1 in the US. But at the same time, we are most proud of our guests who come back to us again and again, as well as our winery partners and our wonderful wine educators that make all the difference in our trips. I also thought that I would mention, if you're really looking to get away next year, Paul will also be hosting a Mediterranean cruise only 1 week after the river cruise. And I know there were some folks who we assisted yesterday who are actually taking the post-Prague extension from their AMA Waterways cruise, and then they're flying down early to Barcelona to enjoy a few early days in Barcelona, and then joining Paul on this Mediterranean cruise in the Med from October 6th to the 18th. So I thought I would mention it here just because it's kind of a fun combination to be able to do the river and the ocean at the same time. Of course, both of the products that we're talking about are ones where we know that the culinary expertise will live up to the standards of our wine enthusiasts. So if you have interest in joining Paul for either of these, by all means, please reach out to our team. We have an amazing, very, very professional, well-trained travel professionals. And why do I say it like that? It's because our folks are not at a call center. These are folks who have been doing this for a long time. These are folks who train vigorously to make sure that everything is arranged properly for you. So of course, you are welcome to call us. You can call us at the toll-free number that you see there. You can email us. We also do virtual appointments. This has become really popular. So you can actually see your consultant face-to-face, just like we're doing now, and get to know a person in a different way. So we want to invite you, of course, to take advantage of this. And let's see if we have any questions. I see here one came up, Paul, that says, you mentioned something about the wine regions of Germany versus the ones that we're visiting. What other wines might we experience in Germany?
It's a really interesting thing that's happening in Germany. And let's talk a little bit about all three destinations. Budapest is actually about a 3-hour drive from Tokaj. So that's kind of a long visit. You might get closer to places like Egri, which is of course home to Egri Bikaver, which, as all of you know, because you all speak Hungarian, it actually means bull's blood from Egri. That's the famous Hungarian bull's blood wine. But in Hungary, you will be amazed to taste both reds and whites that are quite delicious. In Austria, they make both reds and whites, although I'm more a fan of the whites in Austria. Austria probably has the strictest and tightest quality control standards, not probably, it has the strictest quality control standards of any country anywhere in the world. You just can't buy bad Austrian wine. And then in Germany, one of the things that surprises a lot of people is that not only do they make fabulous Riesling, and if you ever want to seduce me, start with a bottle of Riesling, but they are one of the top producers in the world of Pinot Noir. That comes as a surprise to a lot of people. It's a cold country, it's far in the north and all the rest. But a couple of years ago at the London International Wine and Spirits Challenge, the #1 Pinot Noir in the world at that competition did not come from New Zealand, didn't come from the Côte de Beaune in France, it came from Germany. So we're going to be tasting both reds and whites, and if at all possible, we will try to go to a little cafe and drink Wiener Gemischtes Satz, just because I want to see people try to pronounce it.
I was going to say, as long as you don't make me pronounce it, we're good. I'll have to do lots of practicing in the meantime.